have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. Now, this is coming from a book that I've had for a long time. It's called Leaning into the Wind, and it's a book of poems and stories by women. And women are taking an awful lot of heat these days in politics. They're either being told that they're deplorable or they're just enslaved. If they voted for President Donald Trump, then they're not thinking for themselves, which is insulting. As my sons and my husband would tell you, I don't always listen to them. In fact, I've got a broken shoulder right now because I didn't listen when he said it's slick out there. I said, no, it's not. There I went. But this is a poem about the legacy. Now, I shared a little bit, and I know we have shared poems about aprons before, but this is just a little bit different. Whether you're a male or a female, it's going to take you back. It's by Gwen Peterson, and it's called The Legacy. My grandmother gave me a gift today. Now, I expected socks. Instead, an apron, clean but worn, was folded in the box. I know that women used to wear aprons to the floor, shapeless garments of muslin cloth. Who wears them anymore? My grandmother does. My grandmother doesn't know, I thought, the modern ways of things, that wearing aprons and serving others is what enslavement means. When grandmother gently chided me, politely I said I'd listen. And as she spoke of the threadbare garment, I began to see her vision. Rest your hand upon the apron, my grandmother said to me. Listen to the women who came before, women from history. My fingers touched the roughened cloth. I felt my spirit hasten, as if the souls of those long dead were speaking through the apron. I caught a glimpse of times before, and I walked in ghostly shoes. I fancied I was a frontier woman. I wondered, would life I lose? I held a baby as I marched beside a covered wagon, and I was tired of the way was endless. My weary steps dragged on. Then howling warriors swept upon me, shooting from every side. I ran till I thought my heart would burst. There was no place to hide. I slung the child, apron wrapped, not knowing where she fell. The babe survived, and I am her kin. Her name, like mine, was Nell. Again I touched the worn old cloth and became a prairie bride. New settled in a soddy hut. At night, sometimes I cried. For fuel, I learned to follow bison and picked up chips of dung. I heaped them high in my muslin apron and fetched till my arms grew numb. I carried thick dark bricks of sod enfolded in my apron and learned to value prairie beauty as homeward I would hasten. Once more I stroked the muslin threads and became a farmer's wife. A skidding axe sliced through his leg, blood poured away his life. A tourniquet, the flow I tore, a strip of my apron's hem. Then harnessed the team and raced for town. Death was foiled again. Smoothing the cloth of my grandmother's apron, I saw a farmhouse shelter. A toddler wandered close to geese. She chased them helter-skelter. Those flapping, honking, pecking demons gave the child a fright. But right and left I thrashed my apron and drove the birds to flight. Once more the vintage muslin apron made pictures in my mind. I was my grandmother in her youth. My life was the Spartan kind. When heifers broke the fence one day, my apron closed the gap. till I could fix the fence with tools and chase them critters back. And I often sat by the back porch door and watched the children at play while snapping beans or shelling peas in my aproned lap each day. Then my grandmother's apron showed me Western women when, at branding time or thrashing season, they cooked for hungry men. I saw them in their kitchens, roasting, baking, heating, then folding hands across their aprons. They proudly watched men eating. Have some more, there's plenty here. Now, fellas, don't be shy. More coffee, Joe? Have some cake. Here's a piece of pie. This apron is my gift to you, my grandmother said to me. Woven with truth and women's power, it is your legacy. I reached across my grandmother's apron and I touched her gnarled hand and felt the souls of all the women whose courage forged this land. I thanked her softly for my present. In tears and filled with pride, I greeted the shadows of aproned women walking by my side. You know, we talk about the founding fathers, but we seldom think about the founding mothers. The women who stood by them, prodded them, kept them going, took care of family while they went to war. On and on through the legacy of this nation, men and women side by side. So women who voted for President Donald Trump, they didn't listen to their husbands necessarily. And women who voted for Hillary Clinton, they weren't listening to their husbands either. They make up their own minds. But my issue today is you're not being fed the correct information to make up your own mind. We've bought into a socialistic view of life in America. And when we do that, we're condemning our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren to a life of enslavement to big government, not we the people government. So the legacy of an apron, it may be a little sappy, but when you stop and think about the things that women have done in this nation, I mentioned yesterday, women are losing their rights. And the left is okay with that because they're so caught up in being fair to everyone that they're taking away the rights of others. And in that, I'm speaking of how long did women fight for their own sports, to be in their own sports. And now a transgender male who thinks he's female, he can't compete with the men, so he's going to compete with the women. And we've already had some of that going on, and they have beat the women in their own sports. It's not fair. So being fair to everyone isn't really the wise thing. That's not what equality is. But women, whether you're on the farm, whether you're in the city, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a soccer mom in the suburbs. I don't know that you have to be in the suburbs to be a soccer mom. I was a soccer mom. I was driving my kids back and forth all the time to either football games, football practices, marching band, choir practices, basketball practice, track, baseball, all of it. So I know where you're coming from. I mean, there were days I worked part-time for a little while before I went into work full-time. And there were days when I would get home 3 or 4 times before I could get out of the car because somebody would run to the car, Mom, I got to be here at X amount of time, da-da-da-da-da. And we'd take off going again. So I can relate to the moms out there. And I want you to stop and think for yourself. I want you to read your Constitution. I want you to read some history of the women. And I want you to wear your apron. Wear your apron with pride. It's not just about keeping grease from splattering on your good clothes, but it's about a way of life. Wear your apron with pride. Think for yourself. and use some common sense, because that's what we're lacking here. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. I hope you enjoyed that poem. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk about some other legacies that seem to be popping up around here, and that's a sanctuary city, but not the ones you think I might be talking about. This is a different kind of sanctuary city. 877-895-5410. That's 877-895-5410. And yeah, I'm not wearing my apron today. Maybe I'll do that another day. And we will be right back.